Welcome back to the story. We're reading Babe the Gallant Pig. I think we're almost halfway through. So far, Babe, our amazing sheep pig, has amazed Farmer Hoggett with his skills. He's able to do anything, and probably seemingly better than a sheepdog. And Farmer Hoggett is thinking of taking him to a sheepdog trials, to see how he gets on. I guess it's kind of like a sheepdog competition. So, here we go. This is the day where they've gone to have a look. When the day came for the local trials, Farmer Hoggett set off early in the Land Rover, Fly and Babe in the back. He told his wife where he was going, though not that he was taking the pig. Nor did he say that he did not intend to be an ordinary spectator, but instead more of a spy, to see without being seen. He wanted the pig to observe everything that went on without being spotted. Now that he had settled on the final daring part of his plan, Hoggett realised that secrecy was all important. No one must know he owned a... what would you call him? He thought. A sheep pig, I suppose. The trials took place 10 miles away or so, in a curved basin-shaped valley in the hills. At the lower end of the basin was a road. Close to this was the starting point, where the dogs would begin their outrun, and also the enclosure where they would finally pen their sheep. Down there, all the spectators would gather. Farmer Hoggett, arriving some time before them, parked the Land Rover in a lane and set off up the valley by a roundabout way, keeping in the shelter of the bordering woods. Fly padded behind him and Babe on the lead, trotting to keep up with his long strides. "Where are we going, Mum?" said Babe excitedly. "What are we going to do?" "I don't think we're going to do anything, dear," said Fly. "I think the boss wants you to see something." "What?" They had reached the head of the valley now, and the farmer found a suitable place to stop, under cover. But with a good view, of course. "Down, Fly, down. Pig and stay," he said, exhausted by his long speech, stretched his long frame out on the ground and settled down to wait. "Wants me to see what?" said Babe. "The trials." "What's trials?" "Well," said Fly, "it's a sort of competition for sheepdogs and their bosses. Each dog has to fetch 5 sheep and move them through a number of gaps and gateways. You can see which ones. They've got flags on either side, down to that circle that's marked out in the field right at the bottom, and there the dog has to shed some sheep." "What's shed mean?" "Separate them from the rest. The ones to be shed will have collars on." "And then what?" "Then the dog has to gather them all again and pen them." "Is that all?" "It's not easy, dear. Not like moving that bunch of woolly fools of ours up and down a field. It all has to be done quickly, without any mistakes. You lose points if you make mistakes." "Have you ever been in a trial, Mum?" "Yes, here, when I was younger." "Did you make any mistakes?" "Of course," said Fly. "Everyone does. It's very difficult. Working a small number of strange sheep in a strange country. You'll see." By the end of the day, Babe had seen a great deal. The course was not an easy one, and the sheep were very different to those at home. They were fast and wild, and, good though the dogs were, there were many mistakes made at the gates, in the shedding ring, at the final penning. Babe watched every run intently, and Hoggett watched Babe, and Fly watched them both. What's the boss up to, she thought, as they drove home. He's surely never thinking that one day Babe might... No, he couldn't be that daft. Sheep pig indeed. All right for the little chap to run around our place for a bit of fun, but to think of him competing in trials, even a little local one like today's, well, really. She remembered something Babe had said in his early duck herding days. "I suppose you'd say," she remarked now, "that those dogs weren't polite enough." "That's right," said Babe. Chapter 8. Omar. Fly's suspicions about what the farmer was up to grew rapidly over the next few weeks. It soon became obvious to her that he was constructing, on his own land, a practice course. From the top of the field where the rustlers had come, the circuit which he laid out ran all around the farm, studded with hazards to be negotiated. Some were existing gateways or gaps, some he made, with hurdles or lines of posts between the sheep to be driven. Some were extremely difficult. One, for example, a plank over a stream, was so narrow that it could only be crossed in single file, and the most honeyed words were needed from Babe to persuade the animals to cross. Then, in the home paddock, Hoggett made a rough shedding ring with a circle of large stones and beyond it a final pen, a small hurdle enclosure no bigger than a tiny room, with a gate which was to close when he pulled on a rope. Every day the farmer would send Fly out to cut 5 sheep from the flock and take them to the top of the hill and hold them there. Then, starting Babe from the gate at the lower end of the farmyard, Hoggett would send him away to run them through the course. "Away to me, pig," he would say, or "Come by, pig," and off Babe would scamper as fast as his trotters could carry him. As the farmer pulled out his big old pocket watch and noted the time. There was only one problem. His trotters wouldn't carry him all that fast. Here at home, Fly realised, his lack of speed didn't matter much. Whichever 5 sheep were selected were only too anxious to oblige Babe and would hurry eagerly to do whatever he wanted. But with strange sheep it would be different, thought Fly. If the boss really does intend him in a trial, which it looks as if he does, she watched Babe's tubby pink-white shape as he crested the hill. That evening at supper time, she watched him again as he tucked into his food. Up till now, it had never worried her how much he ate. He's a growing boy, she thought fondly. Now she thought, he's a greedy boy too. "Babe," she said, as with a grunt of content, he licked the last morsels off the end of his snout. His little tin trough was shining clean as though Mrs. Hoggett had washed it in her sink, and his tummy was tight as a drum. "Yes, Mum?" "You like being a sheep pig, don't you?" "Oh, yes, Mum." "And you'd like to be really good at it, wouldn't you? The greatest, better than any other sheep pig?" "Do you think there are others?" "Well, no. Better than any sheepdog, then?" "Oh, yes, I'd love to be, but I don't really think that's possible. You see, although sheep do seem to behave well for me and do what I ask, do what I tell them, I'm nowhere near as fast as a dog, and I never will be." "No, but you could be a jolly sight faster than you are." "How?" "Well, there's 2 things you'd have to do, dear. First, you'd have to go into proper training. 1 little run around a day is not enough. You'd have to practice hard, jogging, cross-country running, sprinting, distance work. I'd help you, of course." It all sounded like fun to Babe. "Great," he said. "But you said 2 things. What's the second?" "Eat less," said Fly. "You'd have to go on a diet." Any ordinary pig would have rebelled at this point. Pigs enjoy eating, and they also enjoy lying around most of the day and thinking about eating again. But Babe was no ordinary pig, and he set out enthusiastically to do what Fly suggested. Under her watchful eye, he ate wisely, but not too well. And every afternoon he trained to a programme which she had worked out, trotting right around the boundaries of the farm, perhaps, or running up to the top of the hill and back again, or racing up and down the home paddock. Hoggett thought that Pig was just playing, but he couldn't help noticing how he had grown, not fatter, as a sty-kept pig would have done, but stronger and more wiry. There was nothing of the piglet about him any more. He looked lean and racy and hard-muscled, and he was now almost as big as the sheep he herded. And the day came when that strength and hardiness were to stand him in good stead. Okay, we'll leave it there for today. So the pig is doing well, got a new regime in place to get stronger and faster, so we'll see how that does him tomorrow.